Washington Pod presents Earl Nightingale.
One of the most difficult facts of human existence to understand is what the great Irish poet William Butler Yeats referred to as the tragic joy of existence. We're born into the world and soon become conscious of our existence in it, and conscious of the fact also that we must one day take our leave of it. We're the only creatures with that consciousness. Even in the midst of our happiness, we're conscious of the unhappiness that exists about us at the same time. I remember as a child at the table being told to eat everything on my plate, that it was a sin to waste food because there were millions who, at that very moment, were going without food, were starving. I remember how even the prospect of a delicious and abundant meal was overshadowed by the realization that other children in other places were hungry. The sense of tragedy comes early in life. We learn that it is a tragedy when a loved one is taken from his family, and we become aware of the precariousness of our earthly existence. No matter how fulfilled a life may become, we're seldom without times when we feel strangely sad for no reason that we can articulate. Men and women who are admired and envied by the crowd are victims of inexplicable sadness in their own worlds because this is a part of Yeats' tragic joy of existence. Yeats himself, as all great writers, was aware of and perplexed by this. His own life was an overwhelming success. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature and numbered among his friends the great men and women of his day. Shakespeare knew of this too, and portrayed it through his characters even when they were kings and queens. The tragic joy of existence must be a part of every one of us, and understanding this, if we can see it and experience it as a worthwhile part of our lives. If we look to the end of every joy as a tragedy, we would be overwhelmed by it. Instead, we can savor the joy and move past its end to the next one. It depends on where we place the accent in our lives. As Emerson said, there are people who have an appetite for grief. Pleasure is not strong enough, and they crave pain. Mithridatic stomachs, which must be fed on poisoned bread. Nature is so doomed that no prosperity can soothe their ragged and disheveled desolation. They mishear and misbehold. They suspect and dread. They handle every nettle and ivy in the hedge, and tread on every snake in the meadow. And in another place he wrote, "A Schopenhauer with logic and learning and wit teaches pessimism, teaching that this is the worst of all possible worlds, and inferring that sleep is better than waking and death than sleep. All the talent in the world cannot save him from being odious." But instead of these negatives, you give me affirmatives. If you tell me that there is always life for the living, that what man has done, man can do, that this world belongs to the energetic, that there is always a way to everything desirable, that every man is provided in the new bias of his faculty with a key of nature, and that man only rightly knows himself as far as he has experimented on things. The next time you feel sad for no good reason, or even for a very good one, it's good to remember that occasional sadness is a part of our worlds and our natures. Without it, we couldn't savor our joys.